Okay, time to take a look at our homework from last time. This is the second video in our series of email videos here. I originally intended to do it as one video, but that would have been a little bit too much for us all. So let's take a look at this. Our homework from last time, the challenge was, can you take this email and make it into a better email? Can you fix it? And there was one trick that I was hoping you might be able to catch by looking at these two emails. Now I said this one is the good email, this one not so good. And I pointed to the fact that we have, these, and then we have, these, and then I pointed to this. One gigantic thing here. Now, the trick here, if you haven't figured it out, don't feel bad, because every culture has a different way of dealing with this, and in fact it changes over time. So, a long time ago, even in English, it was expected that we started to write and then we would just keep writing, kind of like this. In some other cultures, we want to separate every individual sentence. But the best idea right now in any kind of formal situation in English is to take similar ideas and put them together into paragraphs. So the trick here is this. In a good email, we take all of the related ideas and we put them together. We don't separate them all out into individual sentences. If we do that, it seems disjointed. It feels like there isn't a good flow to it. When we say flow, what that means is how the ideas connect. When all the related ideas are together and they have good transition words between them, we say that there is a flow. When ideas are separated and we do not have good connecting words between them, we say there is no flow, there is no coherence. So, this email is a problem because each individual idea is separate. In this email, all the related ideas that support one another are together into paragraphs. That's the idea here, paragraphs. Now, we come to this email. Oh dear. This email just has every single idea together inside one paragraph. Oh no! And that's the problem right here. Now, this would be one side of an equation. Every idea together inside one paragraph. This would be the opposite end, where every idea is separate. What we want to shoot for is the middle. We don't want to have all of these ideas together inside one gigantic paragraph. That's not good. It makes it very hard to understand what the ideas are. Likewise, here, you can still understand ideas, but it's better for us in speaking English to have them together in like idea groups. If I simply do this, even though I haven't changed anything else about the email, I haven't fixed any other issues with it, it actually looks better. It still looks better than if we had it all separated out into individual thought groups. This would be accepted more willingly by native English speakers. Now, I know we're not all native English speakers, and that's fine. That's not a problem. This is even for non-native English speakers working in businesses around the globe. So, keep that in mind. We like to put ideas together. We don't want them all separate, but we also don't want them all inside one paragraph. We want related ideas together. That's the way this works. I'll put that down here. What we see is this. That's basically it. Related ideas go together with transition words. That's what we want to see. So, in looking at this email, what we want to start off by doing is going through our list of all of the things that we want to do in an email. So, let's look through. And as we see, the secret point, paragraphs by related ideas. And like we just said, no fragments and no wall of text. Fragments, oh, little pieces. We don't just want small pieces, not one sentence at a time. I don't want to see this. Dink, dink, dink. I don't want to see individual sentences like that. I want them to be linked together appropriately. But I also don't want a wall of text. A wall of text is something that we talked about last time, when we have a lot of text altogether. If you write a very long email, we talked about that, you might want to say, I'm sorry, this is a long email. If you don't have enough time, please don't read this right now. Wait till you have time. A wall of text is when we have a ton of text all together, just like that. Even though this email is not that long, it's all together, and because it's all together, we would still consider that a wall of text. It's very hard to understand all the individual ideas. So, that's the first point. In order to fix this email, we would need first to separate all the ideas out into idea groups. So that's the first thing we'd want to look at. We'll look at that in a second because we haven't figured that out yet. So, we'll move on to the next point here. First, identify the purpose and make it a catchy and pertinent title. Well, we do have a title that expresses the main point, but OMG, we know this one, oh my god. If you're not familiar with that, don't worry about it. It should never be in an email. Gone. But even this, why do I have to work with this lady? The problem here is, it is not very polite or formal. It does have the main point though. So the first step in fixing this should be something along the lines of, gosh, why do I have to work with this lady? It seems like the issue is this person, John from Bristol, does not like having to work with a particular coworker. He's scared about it. So perhaps we would want to explain this in a more polite and formal way. Something along these lines. Sorry. There we go. I'm sorry, my typing is not up to par. And there we go. Issue with new coworker. That's a bit more polite. Rather than being very pointed and saying, why do I have to do this? What's going on? Remember, we want to try to keep away from an emotional tone in emails. So we'll start with that. That makes it a little bit better. So, now we have the main point, and we've made it a bit more polite and formal. Next up, a greeting. Hello, hi there. And if we look, it's not too bad. We just have a hello. We could do one thing to make it better, though, which would be, hello, Mr. Kim. Or, as we talked about last time, we could also say, hi there, Mr. Kim. And that would look a little bit better. Great. Simple. So, we've already talked about this. We'll look at this in a second. We haven't done it yet. We will soon. This is taken care of. All right, no problem. The greeting, not looking too bad. And the other thing is this. Starting on a positive note, personalizing, establishing common ground has to be related to what we're talking about. Actually, this is okay, because this person focused on common ground. They already said they're going to be working at Ipswitch, and they're from Bristol. So let's take a look here. We see, hi there, Mr. Kim. This is John from Bristol. I'm supposed to start at Ipswitch next week. This whole portion is just establishing common ground, saying, hi, here's who I am. I work for your company. Right now I work at this place. Right now I work at this place, and I'm going to start at this place soon. So we've established common ground. All right, not too bad so far. And then we get to the point quickly. And actually, yeah, this email does get to the point fairly quickly. But then it very quickly veers off point. So if we look, the main point of this email basically is to say, I would prefer another partner. It appears that this whole email is focused on saying, I don't like this particular partner you've got for me. I wish I could get someone else. So we get to that, but as we say here, it quickly veers off point. And when something veers off point, that means it's not focused on the main idea anymore. To veer means to turn or twist. Off point means we're going away from the main focus. So what we see here is a lot of talking about shortcomings, issues with the partner right here. Beyond that, this is the real big issue here, keeping it formal and polite. Remembering that anybody could read this. And I'll point this out to you. You are reading this email right now because somebody was not paying attention when they wrote it. So please keep this in mind. You never know when you're going to see an email that you wrote in the past. Be careful. And as we see right here, the big issue here is that this email is neither formal nor polite. That's going to take us a while to fix. We're going to do that together. So let's move on to the next piece, which is thanks, farewell, and contact info. And again, what we have right here is have a nice day. Wow, this is very sarcastic. That's a sarcastic tone right there. When we say something is sarcastic, basically it means we don't really mean it. So essentially, when we're being sarcastic, it comes off almost like we are lying, like we're saying the opposite of what we mean. This whole email is talking about how angry this person is. And then he says, have a nice day. I don't think he really means that. So it would be better to replace that with what we've already talked about. Pretty simple. All we have to do is say, regards, Brad Smith, and then it looks a lot better. But we would also want to make sure that we have a phone number and an email address right there. Okay, with that said, we've taken care of almost everything here. We already said, remember to, we said last time, remember too long don't read. Didn't read. Oh dear, sorry. Having a hard time. It's a little bit late at night, as you can see up here. From my perspective, I'm getting old. Hopefully you're not. Oh well. Too long. Didn't read. It's not too long. It's really not too long at all. Once we take care of a couple of simple things, it's not going to look very long. So, the big issues here that we need to fix now. Keeping it formal and polite, and taking care of paragraphs by related ideas. This is tricky. So, let's take a look really quick, see what we can see. Oh gosh, hi there Mr. Kim, this is John from Bristol. I'm supposed to start at Ipswitch next week. Okay. I understand that my new coworker called, oh dear. So, this whole first part is just establishing common ground. I think then that we probably want to separate this right here. Okay. Now we've got related ideas together, and right here, let's see here, new coworker. She called at midnight because she's worried about me. Well, she mentioned I'm not thrilled to be working with her either. In fact, I don't like her accounting skills. I don't think she can work with a team. She can't communicate clearly. Oh, goodness gracious. Wow. All those ideas go together. But then we end up with this. So having said that, I wanted you to know that I would prefer another partner. My goodness. However, I understand that she won't change my partner simply because I don't like her. I'll do my best to work with her, but in the future, if she has a problem, I suggest she speaks to me about it first. I will not tolerate someone who goes behind my back. Ooh, gosh, all right. I have had a good time working at the Bristol office. Whoa, what? I have had a good time working at the Bristol office. Goodness, well, this doesn't sound related to how he would prefer another partner. So, we separate it like that. Aha! And now we end up with something that looks a lot more like a natural email. Okay, the only other thing we want to do is separate this down right there. Okay. Now, there's one other thing that's missing here. I don't see any clear transition from this piece to this piece. And that's the thing. Whenever we put things into paragraphs, we need related ideas together, but we also need transition words. And sometimes it's not a word, sometimes it's a phrase. If you're interested in that, I'll be putting up some more videos about clause combining and sentence emulation soon here. That's one of the ideas that we'll talk about. But for right now, let's just look at this. This is John from Bristol. I'm supposed to start at Ipswitch next week. I understand that my coworker, let's see here. It would be best if we could introduce the idea we're going to talk about. That's one of the things that we mentioned right here. Provide an introduction and background before asking, commanding, or demanding. So, we've got some questions here about the coworker. A good way to introduce this is to say, I am writing because I had a concern about my new coworker in Ipswitch. Well, that introduces the idea. Okay. And now we can understand these ideas a lot more. All right. Now, the tricky part here is what we mentioned before. Keeping it formal and polite. Oh, no. Oh, goodness. How can we do this? Now, what I would prefer to do is simply throw this all away and start again. But let's see if we can take what we have right here and see if we can make it work a little bit better. So we start with this. I understand my new coworker called at midnight because she was concerned about working with me. Well, since she mentioned it, I'm not thrilled to be working with her either. Ooh, very emotional language right here. Instead, perhaps we can take it and make it a bit more formal. So, let's see here. The first thing we want to do is eliminate this question mark because this isn't really a question. This sounds more like spoken language. I understand that my new coworker called at midnight because she was concerned about working with me. That's spoken English. We don't want that. I'd want to put a period there instead as a statement. And I see this. Well, since she mentioned it, I'm not thrilled to be working with her either. All right, let's see what we can do with that. Let's see, because we've got this idea here, my new coworker called at midnight, I'm basically saying the same thing here. She doesn't want to work with me, I don't want to work with her. I'll start with this. I can say this, oddly, this is also the case with me. I say this is also the case, meaning, this situation, same for me. I'm also worried about working with her. Now, I can use this right here. In particular, I think her accounting skills are lacking. Oh dear, I don't want to necessarily do that. Instead of saying, I think she doesn't have this, I might want to say, I am concerned about. That means I'm worried about, but it's a bit more formal. And what I want to say is this. I'm concerned about her accounting skills. Now let's see. I have no confidence in her ability to work with a team. Ugh, again, very emotional. Maybe like, let's see here. Her ability to work with a team. There we go. That works a bit better. Let alone to communicate clearly. Okay, and I'll see if I can do the same thing. Oh, sorry. And her ability to communicate clearly. By doing this, instead of sounding very emotional, I can say, well, you know, these are 3 things I'm very concerned about. Now, the problem here is there's no explanation. I just say, I'm worried about these things. But I don't give any examples, I don't explain it at all. Oh, God, so I would have to provide some examples of those things. If I don't, it just sounds like I'm complaining. So, I don't have time to put a bunch of examples here. What we could say, though, is this. My new coworker called at midnight because she's concerned about working with me. Accounting skills, ability to work with a team, ability to communicate clearly. You know, I don't have any examples for accounting skills. But I do have this. Okay, she called at midnight before working with me to say that she was worried about working with me, but she didn't call me. She called the boss. Aha, interesting. So that would be the example. I can put this right here and say, her failure to notify me of her concerns or even talk to me prior to calling you is evidence of this, especially after meeting me in person last week. Aha! Now I have some evidence to say, you know, maybe she's not going to be good with a team and she's not going to communicate clearly. Aha. Okay, cool. That looks a little bit better. Now we come down here. So having said that, I wanted you to know that I would prefer another partner. Oh boy. Now, this, again, sounds like complaining. It's, she told on me, so I'm going to tell on her. It sounds childish. So, there's a trick here. Instead of saying, I wanted you to know that I would prefer another partner, maybe we can say something like this. Can we provide an option or ask the boss for advice? We can still keep the same having said that. Instead of, I wanted you to know, we can say this. Having said that, I wondered if it might be possible to assign us both to other locations, or at least to minimize our interaction. This still doesn't sound great, but it's a bit nicer than simply, I don't want to work with her, I want a different partner. Instead, right, see, before it was simply saying, I want a different partner, and then it has to say, however, right here. We can get rid of the however if we say, I wondered if it might be possible to assign us both to other locations. This right here, I wondered if it might be possible. Right there, I'm not saying, please do this. I'm asking a question. I'm saying, I'm wondering about this, you know? Would that even be a possibility? Because of that, I don't come off as saying, I don't come off as giving a command right here. Next up, I understand that you won't change my partner simply because I don't like her. So then we can put this right here. I understand that you won't change my partner simply because I don't like her. And of course, I will do my best to work with her. But in the future, if she has a problem, I suggest she speaks to me first. Oh dear, here we have more emotional language. I suggest she speaks to me first about it. Let's see here. Instead of this, we could say something along these lines. I would hope that we could discuss it together before alerting management. This right here sounds a little bit nicer. I would hope that we could discuss it together before alerting management. It still doesn't sound very nice. It still sounds kind of angry. But you know what? This is an angry email. And this next sentence here. I will not tolerate someone who talks behind my back. The simplest way to fix this is at the top right of your keyboard. Done. There we go. Delete. That really should not be there. There's no place for that kind of language in an email, especially not at work. Okay. I have had a good time working at the Bristol office. Everyone on staff has been great to work with. This is a grammar issue, actually. And yes, this was written by a native speaker, but it's still a grammar problem. I can simply put a dash in there instead of a comma, and it looks a bit better. And this next part, I hope this new partner doesn't turn out to be a big disappointment. Don't need it. That's more emotional language. Beyond that, I've had a good time working at the Bristol office. You know, this whole part right here, it just sounds like he's trying to make it sound a bit softer after having said all these nasty things. But we got rid of the nasty things. So, we can simply get rid of that and say, regards, Brad Smith, phone, email, done. And there we have it, a little bit of a nicer email. And that's the end of our homework right there. In the next email, we'll talk, in the next video, which is about email, we will talk about how to respond to an email. And that's that. See you next time.